Soon, Master Elf, you will taste the fabled hospitality of the dwarves. Roaring fires, malt beer, red meat off the bone. This, my friend, is the home of my cousin Balin, and they call it a mine. A mine!
This isn't a mine. It's two nerds jousting Minecraft.
I gotta get off of this horrendous view. Oh, how many times I nearly fell off trying to get that right. Oh, I forgot to take... whatever. I was gonna take off this little HUD piece because it would have made it better, but whatever. People
Which
know.
HUD piece?
My little equipment on the bottom.
Oh, gotcha.
But it doesn't matter. Minecraft, an easy game because we need to be easy today. Got some...
You got off easy today.
We've got a lot going on, and we needed something we knew would record and wouldn't give us much fuss. But yes, this is my... I'll save this. This is a teaser. We'll come back and check it later. Because, like, the one thing that you got to do with Minecraft when it's your own world you've built is bore everyone to tears with it. Because otherwise, are you even really playing Minecraft if you're not boring people to tears with your stuff? This is a very old... This is actually a server I had with some friends. Mostly my cousin, actually. We played a whole lot of this together several years ago. And this is our little spot. This is the patch, as it were. But yeah.
Doesn't he have a little...
Yeah, he's got a little house over there. The Dwarf Fortress, the Mines of Moria, is my house. With the big... I don't know what you want to call it. That's like the magic
Death
tower.
Star.
Well, I could have actually done that, I suppose. But I didn't. So this is us. We claimed this sort of as part of our part of the world. Built this little farm. He actually built most of this outside stuff. I was too busy, as you'll see. I was far too busy going through pickaxes at a speed most people take breaths. Because it's quite a lot of excavation going on in there. But yeah, this is all the animals are gone. I'm not sure what happened to them. But yeah. What are your thoughts? We tried to get you in on this. And you
visited.
Didn't stay. Yeah, you were going to build a little thing. We gave you a little parcel of land. It's going to be over there. And you played, I think, all of twice.
Truthfully, I was not, again, a lot of my... I still blame it on school because a lot of my time was dedicated to that. So
that was back when you were in actual school.
Well, I truthfully have to revisit Minecraft as a whole because I have actually, and this is an interesting.
He went with some kind of weird modernist architecture.
Show me one more time because I remember you showing me this once, and I'm just curious.
You built this
because again, we're just going to fully embrace the boring people to tears.
That was his handle, and this is he. We put up a whole bunch of random signs that say random things.
But one of the things, this is actually
I'm boring people to tears with other people's stuff.
This is actually a decent topic, though, is that when I first started playing,
look at all this unused space that we were going to give to you.
See, I had to get comfortable with...
Hey, look at that chest. We left you what's in this? We left you a chest full of goodies.
It's probably nothing.
This was our opening gift. Well, I've probably scoured it by now. Oh, look, we gave you some really crappy stuff.
That's why I had a bad time. No, I loved the world building side of this as far as creative side of things.
Really? Because
I am not a fan as much of the actual survivalist, like especially when you're playing like extreme, whatever the term is, where you're actually
survival mode.
Yeah, where it's
like when you die,
lose all your stuff.
But you don't have to do that. Oh, this was one of my early pranks. We used to prank each other a lot.
And he is dead?
No, this was...
I'm not seeing the words.
You're looking at it through the window. You're not going to be able to read it as well.
Oh, okay.
That was one of my first jokes, which was funny. What does this say? We were very strange. We were, I think, early high schoolers at the time. I think he wrote that because I put some sort of snide comment there and he replaced it with something of his. Why am I showing you his stuff? Anyway. This is weird.
But,
this is his weird postmodernist house.
I don't know what other people's thoughts on there are, but I enjoyed the creative side, but I struggled to get into the actual survivalist.
I have tried the creative side several times, and it always gets boring because it's kind of too easy.
Yeah, I hear you.
You're like, oh, I'm going to build a house, and then you do, and then it's like, well, that was easy. We had some couches in here. I'm not sure where they went. Oh, they probably burned down. They probably burned because of the fire. This was our weird behind the waterfall, like, meeting room. I don't know. We used to get on this quite a lot, so, you know, as you'll see as we enter the mighty dwarf fortress. I called it the Mines of Moria. It's really more modeled after Erebor.
Yeah,
with the big gates and everything. Because only the first Hobbit had come out then, and I was still considered myself a fan.
Well, you can be a fan of The Hobbit as a proper
I certainly
story.
like the book. The book's a good book.
Yeah,
but yeah, this is...
say.
Oi! You ain't welcome here. Oh, I don't gotta have arrows. You got some nasty fiends down there. That's the one problem with a place this big, is it's impossible to keep monsters out.
That's why you got to get some cave service of some kind.
And the Endermen litter their stupid blocks.
Soon may the Endermen come. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
This is my glorious throne, which hang on. We could have started it right here, but hang on. This is where we should have started the video. Woo!
Right up your jacksie.
Right up my pants. What? Ah! Pressing the wrong buttons. There we go. There we are. Here's me sitting on my throne. There you go. The problem is we couldn't have shown off what it looked like from there. Oi! Anyways. Yeah, I find creative just to be a little too easy. There's part of the struggle of the survival, gathering all the stuff is what kind of pads the time out, makes it feel a little more like you've worked for it.
Yeah. Well,
because I swear, if you knew how many pickaxes went into this, it would probably haunt me for the rest of my life.
It does.
It still does. All those broken picks just weep.
But it's still there.
This is my this is the forge area, all the crafting supplies, and then this is, should I show you? I'm not sure I should show you. This is the secret vault where all of the precious stones go. Goes down there, and the diamonds and stuff's at the very bottom. Oh, seriously, I've had this.
The dwarves delve too greedily.
It's probably been coming up on like 7 years since we started this. So, and I've been off and on. I haven't done it the whole time, but like this has been a little project. But well, let's finish the tour first. Where are we at?
Weeping Skulls.
We're only at the first 10 minutes, and most of that was our failed intro attempts.
Hey, no.
Here's the alchemy lab, which has a lot of my redstone stuff, you'll notice, is nicked from... I should link to him, although he doesn't post anymore. It was a channel called... Oh, no. CNB Minecraft. He was this British guy who did redstone videos for Minecraft. And I stole just about everything he's ever done.
As far as the full schematics, or just strictly the ideas?
Partially both, because he has this system of like the automated potion thing where you click it. Let's click on one of these. What do I want? I don't need anything. Let's go with just a plain old healing potion. Wait, no, that's not healing potion. I don't actually know. I gave them silly names because I thought I was being clever, but no, I can't remember what they are. I think that's the healing potion. You push it. It should come out. There you go. Whoop. Bing. All the ingredients you need come out right there. You can make the modifiers so you can increase the strength, make it a reverse effect, do the explosive. I don't know what this one does. I'm not sure what that one does. And you'll notice we just depleted... Oh, no, we didn't. Oh, yes, we did. We just depleted our last supply because the light, after we pressed it, the light went out. That was my own addition. I was quite proud of that. You'll notice that's a theme running through this, is that I'm quite proud of everything I've done because look at the monstrosity of work that went into that product.
So that you kind of
I stole his schematic and then added some stuff to it. So this is where all the stuff goes.
But I mean, the lighting thing representing what's in there on an inventory level is a bit like the parking lights in a hotel or not in an airport.
Oh, I suppose you could claim that I stole it from that.
Well, I'm not. No, I'm not claiming that.
It was one of these two. I think it was the first one. So I'm gonna put it back. Oh wait, no, I don't need that. Netherwort is separate. Netherwort goes in here. It's a great channel, although I don't think he posts anymore. But if you're interested in Minecraft redstone stuff, check him out. Now that I'm way behind the times. And then now, it came back. Oh, I put it in the wrong one. Should have been the fourth one. Now I'm going to have to... Oh, these stupid Endermen been poking holes in all my stuff. Oh boy, I'm ruining lots of stuff today. Let me put that back. So it's the fourth one. I'm just, like I said, boring people to tears.
So
this is all that you're missing out on when you didn't join us. You could have spent years of your life building complicated machines that do nothing of any actual value. The work goes back here. Thing was number 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I put it in, it comes back on with these redstone things, and it keeps the lights on. And I like my weird... Basically, whatever happens is I'll have an idea, and then I'll spend like the next several weeks building it. Yeah, so there you go, lights back on. And then I'll finish it, and then I won't play Minecraft anymore because I'm like, oh, the challenge is gone. I've got nothing to work on. And then I'll get another idea, and then I'll do it again. And so that's basically all that's been going on, which is why we're playing it today, because I happen to be in the middle. I happen to be in the middle of one. Here's the library, but this leads up to the tower we saw. I'm not going to go up there because it's a long way. Here is the library, which is still unfinished after 7 years, which will tell you just how bloody expensive books are. The other thing that will haunt me is how many cows had to die for the books that were already here. And then here's a little fun trick. Wait a second. What do you notice that's not right here? This torch looks different, doesn't it? We should fix that, shouldn't we? Uh-oh. Secret passage to the nether portal. I'm not as happy with this because I built it too close. I should have put it further back, but then the tunnel's over there for the tower, so whatever. It's not all perfect. Put it back there and it goes away. I'm a big Minecraft nerd, if you couldn't tell.
What's the art on the wall?
It's random paintings. You can build things that are paintings, and you just
that one's kind of cool.
You stick them on the wall, and they have a random selection of stuff that it can be.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, and then the arboretum is down there. It's where all the trees. It's how we get our oxygen.
Well, at least you
very Bioshock inspired.
Yes, that's very much.
Upstairs is the garden where the lovely
Arcadia.
Yes, there's the upstairs is the garden. There's the beehives. Here's the lovely jungle.
What's that called? The horticulture inside with its self-contained.
Well, that's aquaponics, but that's if it's self-contained. This would just be an arboretum or I don't know what you'd call it.
It's a bit of a
statue of, I don't know, some cool dwarf guy. Why not? That I don't know where that leads yet. That downstairs thing, because it never did it. Here's the farm. The animals are all down through there. So yeah, this has been my pet project for years, and we're going to continue it today.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, are you sufficiently bored to tears?
I actually find this kind of stuff interesting. In that, again, on the creative side, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think the thing that bothers me the most is, as much as I understand the thought of, well, it makes it too easy. I don't like. There's a degree of buy-in for me where I go, okay, I've been playing, and now I literally lost all the stuff that I've been working on for the past 3 hours.
No, because the only stuff you lose is the stuff in your inventory. Only if you were to die. If you were to die, like if I were to fall into lava, then it would be gone. But if you die, it just falls out and you can go get it. Sometimes it's hard to get if you've died in an uncomfortable place. This is where the old mine was. It's the abandoned mine shaft. Went down to the center of the earth. But I figured, you know what? That's not dwarvish enough. What would the dwarves do if they wanted a big mine? They'd make it a frickin' big mine. This goes from the surface, the top of the mountain. It spirals all the way down to the center of the earth, or as far as you can dig. And what we're doing today is replacing. This has been my system for getting down to the bottom and up to the top, because I'll be buggered if I'm going to walk this whole way. I mined it out, but I won't walk it every time. So I've got this rail system going on here, which I have been tinkering with. This actually is mostly of my own design, although this 9x9 keypad arrangement also comes from CNB Minecraft. This sort of code bank for keeping storage of what the number is pressed, but then I adapted it to this application where every time I say, if I want to go to, you look at this, I say I want to go to the first floor, which would be the bottom. First floor is down there. I click it. Now you'll notice, hey, oi, who's that you in? You're not welcome here. Get out. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Come at me. You're stuck. Get out. Oh, I can still hit me. I didn't make my cover big enough. That's my dirt, too. Holy crap, he almost killed me.
I do find it interesting that this is so adept at utilizing the thought processes you have already as kind of that mechanical engineer mindset. I mean,
well,
like
sort of. This is not the most. Oh,
well, I mean, I suppose it would probably be more likened to maybe electrical engineering in that.
Well, that is the closest approximation. Technically, this is their version. This is Minecraft's electricity.
Yeah.
Oh, new recipes. This is one thing. I have not played it a lot recently in the terms of like all the new updates and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Candles? What was that that they just showed me?
I don't know.
I unlocked something. Banner patterns. Candles. Out of silk and honey. Huh. That's not how you make candles. I suppose the honeycomb, it's implying that it's wax. Although there would be some expensive candles if you're burning silk thread. Anyways, I didn't show it off well because the mechanism for actually saving it, but like if I click on one, that one, that'll be number 1.
Gotcha.
And eventually what I have to do now is lead all of these to the central storage bank, which I'm not even sure I've built yet. It's been a while. I had to pause on this because another relevant point, this is another one that got lost. We've already recorded this video, and this is why I had to stop.
We have deep
I was in the
wounds.
middle. I was in the middle of this project, and then I was like, "Hey, let's record this because I've been doing this recently." And then we did. And this was like 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
And then
it was a great video too.
It was, and then I had to stop because I was going to finish it. I literally have got all of these done except the bottom 2 floors. Every single one of these has got its mined out little data entry. And then, so I have not. The other thing we do is we're going to have to build the computer that stores the data and then sends the power to each of the things. Again, I'm probably boring to tears, but that's what else are we doing? You'll notice I didn't plan this out because I dug out this big room here. There's my dogs who don't have names.
Your dogs.
I dug out this big room. This was the big hallway we saw at the bottom.
Ah.
But I dug it out and I was like, I don't know what I'll do with this space. And then I started digging this and was like, oh, I guess I can't do anything with it. Oh, crap! I did it again. I thought I could make it to the water. Oh, well, at least we go back to the bed. So, yeah. This is what we're doing today. Buckle up. It's going to be scintillating, I know.
Well, I mean, for people to play this often.
Well, that is a heavy caveat. This will be interesting to people who care.
Caveat, but,
these dumb Endermen littering their dirt all over.
You can't just go popping the stuff around.
Enderman's just organize. Must keep order. I don't want the silk touch out because I don't want to use it.
This, to me, is likened to, and this is an interesting bit of digression.
Complimenting yourself on your digression?
Yes, I am.
This will be an interesting topic.
Well, I wouldn't say topic. I wouldn't go that far.
You can see how little I planned this out because here's the previous tunnel that I built.
Like how well you were organizing that. The type of people that literally leave just willy-nilly things on the desktop on their computers.
Well, I'm also one of those people. Although I try to look at this mess. Like what am I doing here? What you call me am I the maid? Dumping your dirt all over my mine tunnels?
I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 5 minutes?
Anyways, give us your topics because I'm sure everyone's half asleep.
So I got an AR this week.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about that. I think we're on the second floor.
And I just thought I'd share that because I'm excited about it. And
that's it? That's all you're going to say about it?
Yeah. Well, no. We're in our particular state. I don't know whether we would.
Have we? I'm pretty sure we've accidentally revealed it. Well,
maybe.
Okay,
not.
Here it is.
Either way,
so this is the last.
So we live in Texas, and in our beautiful state of Texas,
I need some.
It is
arrows.
apparently completely passable to trade guns, which is new to me, as I originally was from Washington State. So had to get my brain around that for a bit. But yeah, I possess currently an AR-15, which is great.
How about that?
It's fun. And I was doing some bit of poking around as far as not only just practical uses for, hunting and all that kind of stuff, but also looking at home defense. And I was told by one of my friends that apparently in his opinion, ARs weren't great for home defense because his argument was, well, they'll go through the whatever, assailant that you're trying to, take care of, and into your neighbor's house and through your neighbor's walls and right into your neighbor.
Through your neighbor's dog.
And I didn't know that I agreed with that, so I kind of did a bit of poking around and found out that there is a channel that I actually very much enjoy. I followed before.
Did I not get my redstone torches?
Owned a AR, which is it's a channel called Warrior Poet Society. It's
You've
great.
mentioned this to me, and I've not bothered to check it out
yet.
Yeah, sorry.
But he's a former Army Ranger and a ridiculously crazy dude. And
I'm not surprised.
He also goes around and does like various seminars on just not only using guns effectively, but just being kind of people of
warrior
awareness.
poets.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, anyway, he did a particular video on best home defense weapons, which I found interesting, and the AR came out on top, which was counter to what... What is with all these...
I tell you, they're everywhere. Filthy immigrants. Hey, this is my property, and they're not welcome. That makes them... I'm looking at you.
Trespassers. It doesn't make them immigrants.
I'm looking at you. What are you going to do about it? Come at me. I used to have an iron golem that was supposed to wander around and take care of crap like this, but the problem is I found that in a space this big, they just wander off and get themselves killed.
That's kind of akin to Gollum and what he did.
Well, no, iron golems, not like Gollum the character, like the big iron statues that walk around, but I would need like 60 of them to keep the place protected. Here's my project storeroom. I'm just
saying the name is apt.
Here we go. This is my project storeroom where all of the materials go. Gonna have to load up on some of that before we continue.
But anyway, I found it interesting because apparently it's largely to do with what type of ammunition you use in it. So,
seems like that would happen.
Well, yes, but I mean, so my friend's argument was, shotguns are better for home defense, and I was like, is it though? And one of the things that Warrior...
As long as you don't care much about your interior design.
Well, one of the things that Warrior Poet Society was talking about was even with shotguns, if you actually run slugs, you're going to run through 4 walls before it stops. So it's, yeah. Did you have a particular, thought as far as what you would start with if somebody said, hey, you have a budget of $2,000 and you need
$2,000.
You need a home defense weapon.
Admittedly, that's a bit of a unique constraint because as much as I am pro gun, spoiler alert, there goes our subscribers. As much as I'm pro gun, I'm not much in the wisdom of guns really because I've not. Well, as a poor college student, they've been low on my priority list.
Well, I'm not even specifically saying brand.
So as far
I'm saying more
$2,000,
model.
Well, I want to take it seriously because that's a good constraint. Because otherwise, I'd be like, just give me everything if I had the money.
A cannon.
$2,000 is. I happen to know that one of the guns I really enjoy is the 1911, and if I was gonna go 1911, I feel like I'd have to go Colt.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of my thought.
So you'd go with a handgun, though.
The one I like is around $800 or $900, so that's only half of the budget.
Oh, sure.
So the question that I don't know the answer to is can you get an AR or similar gun for $1,000? I feel like you'd have to.
Well, yeah, mine was about just shy of $1,000.
In terms of value?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that? Was that told you?
Looked it up. I looked up the MSRP, but then I also looked up just what's the market value of it, and it's comparable. I mean.
Well, okay, then I might just do that. Because one's for going out and one's for staying in.
Exactly. I mean, applying the same constraint, because right now I only have the AR. I eventually want to get a handgun, but it will not be a 1911, and we've actually had this discussion.
Because you are a hipster.
It's not... What? If I was a hipster, I would run a revolver.
You used to tell me you would do something like that.
No, if I was in a suit every day, maybe, but no.
That's your defense? Why is a revolver a suit
It's
gun?
a little more classic, I suppose, in my opinion. But
because you're a hipster.
No.
You, of course, Hammond, of course you would say that because you're an American. I forget how many. It's 1, 2, 3. 4,
but
5.
I am actually. I found myself to be a Glock man, and not everybody is. But, so there goes our rest of our subscribers. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say not everyone is, except for 2/3 of the entire planet.
No, that's not true. A lot of people actually hate on Glocks because they don't like the way they feel. But I actually fell in love with them.
I don't like the way they look.
Well, and that to me is
if I wanted a crayon box
argument.
Projected crayons, I'd just get one of those.
I feel like that aesthetic is, to me, the last thing you should be worried about with a gun. Because,
not really.
Yeah,
because here's my thought.
The way you shoot it.
No, but here's my thought. I mean, and this goes for anything. Guitars, cars, even to a degree.
You are mastering the segue today.
There you go. I'm talking anything you're gonna buy. We're talking in the sense of like, save up, buy the thing you want. You can get a good version of anything you want if you're willing to pay. So I go, I'm sure I could get for $400 some, European-made, cheap, not cheap in quality, but, inexpensive but properly manufactured handgun that's in the 45, because I do prefer 45 caliber.
So in other words,
and
the Glock 23 is what you're ragging on.
I'm for $400. I don't think they're that cheap.
Well,
I'm saying you could do your really extensive research and find the right exact perfect gun that's exactly functional and no bells and whistles. But I go, part of what I decide by is it's like, am I gonna like having this? Am I gonna like looking at it? Am I gonna like having it with me all the time?
Well, yeah.
So I go, the idea that you shouldn't base it only off of look. It's the same thing with a guitar. You can buy a flashy, what's the brand? Like a freaking Washburn or whatever.
Washburn is not the brand, I assure you.
Whatever. There's the ones that are like usually the big.
Oh, you're talking about the Rickenbacker?
Yeah, it's like the ones that are the big X's and stuff like that. It's like you could buy one of those that's flashy and spend probably $300 on it. It'll be a piece of crap.
Yeah.
So don't do it just because you're like, oh, it looks cool. But if it's like, if you actually like the style, then I'd say you could buy I'm not good with those kinds of guitar brands, but you could buy like spend a couple extra $100 and get one that's actually of quality.
Yeah, to me,
is Schecter a good brand?
Schecter's
I know they're another one. Is it just the
really.
fact that no good brands make those X-shaped guitars? I'm going through in my head.
Outside of Gibson.
Do they make those? I've never seen them
the
make
one that's made kind of those famous, arguably some like the Flying V was Gibson, if I remember right.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like what are they even called? They're called they have a weird name anyway. They're the ones that are literally shaped like big X's that have spikes on every available surface.
Yeah, that's got to be. Oh, you're maybe a. No, I know what you're talking about because it's not Schecter. Schecter's got an interesting.
I know that's one of those brands that make. I don't know.
I know.
Schecter, BC Goodrich. These are all the brands I know that make them, and I don't think any of them are very good.
Doesn't Dean make one?
I see. This is where
Dean
you go.
Kane?
I don't know these things. We're really committed to our boring people out of their minds today.
Anyway, no. So the reason I like Glock is because I am a bit of a utilitarian when it comes to guns.
Of course
I am not. It's not that I don't want it to look good. I mean, I feel like it's fine. It looks fine. But for me, when I gripped it the first time, I was like, I love it. I fell in love with it.
The first time.
Don't make it weird.
Tell us the story of when you gripped it the first time. Forgot that I needed wool, and I'm going to need more eventually because I'm running low.
Black sheep. Have you any wool?
Well, this is white wool.
Well, then white sheep. Have you any black sheep so I can get some wool?
Wow! Don't read into that. The subtext is not welcoming.
No, that's... Oh, dear.
Get me my wool.
Don't put words in my mouth. Anyway,
I'm going to have to look at how this pattern goes.
So why the 1911? I mean...
Because it's a classic.
Colt is not the argument, because to me, me is more obvious, because Colt is a great brand. But, I mean, the 1911 is just something you...
Well... Standard sidearm for the U.S. military for 2 world wars and several others.
True.
70 years in service. That to me is how I go. If you talk about utilitarianism, you go, clearly the record shows.
That's true.
The question is, how did I do this? I'm going to have to go up and look at my stuff. I don't know. The other one I do like is the Beretta M9 for the same reason. It was the gun that replaced the... What? I didn't click that. It was the gun that replaced the 1911 and was used for about 30 or so odd years. What does this look like? I forget what my little matrix looks like. One in the middle. Up, up, up. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a Glock 30 I'm thinking of, not the Glock 23. That is the 45.
Sure.
Anyway, so 1911, I understand, I mean, the idea that it has already proved itself a little bit. Interestingly, they just recently put in kind of a new work order or within the U.S. military that ended up, if I recall...
they've replaced the M9 now.
Yeah.
Very recently.
So, I can't remember what replaced it, though. Was it the 6 hour? I think it was a 6 hour of some kind.
Could be. I have not kept up with that. Again, like I said, it's not been high on my priorities list, so the research is not
I know it wasn't a Beretta because the one that the kind of gun that the Beretta put into the hat ring, if you will, when it comes to that, was the APX, which is a great gun, but...
Does this come out here?
Is one that they did not end up going with. So, and then Glock, of course, it's been used in a very niche. I think a couple, obviously, the obvious Austrian military and police and all that kind of stuff. But
I mean, I can't hate on the Glock with impunity because the fact of the matter is most police forces have used it for years at this point.
And federal, actually, believe it or not, is.
So I mean, I can't. It's mostly just
they're ugly.
They got no sense of style.
I agree. I don't think that's an unfair statement.
Blocks of steel.
Blocks of steel.
Again, I've already forgotten how this goes.
It's true.
It's like that. Okay, good.
That is an accurate statement. But
boom.
I do think if so.
I don't know what
now you kind of got down to your bottom. Like those are your two. Hey, this is what I would get to just kind of start the baseline. Would be, to my understanding, you said AR or.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go one handgun and a rifle. Seems like a decent pairing.
But
what else are you gonna? Well, I mean, that covers pretty much all your bases.
Yes, but I mean, within the rifle category, you also have just single bolt actions. You have arguably the biggest competitor that
I'm not needing to do sniping if I'm. Yeah. I know that that's a hot debate, and I don't. I'm a red-blooded American, if you don't mind my saying so.
See, I love the Kalashnikov, though. There's something cool
because you're a communist.
Wow.
You would say that, Hammond, because you're a communist.
Well, no. It's because Kalashnikovs were actually... I mean, you could literally run cement through those things.
See, that's what people say, but is that really true?
It's fairly true. The biggest thing that I think...
I do not know what...
The deciding factor for me when I decided to go with the AR was the fact that it's manageable enough that you don't have to... it's more accurate, but it's simply because it's less...
I'm going up.
What?
No, stay away. I don't know why I went back in to look at him.
Just to make it dramatic?
He's not going to follow me down 3 flights of stairs.
I feel like there's a bit of a, I think mystique around surrounding it that has caused it to
I think that's
garnish
more. I think it's a lot of
garner
Russian
rather
propaganda
more.
Is what it is.
What?
I think it's a lot of Russian propaganda.
No.
Oh, the AR? You're still talking about the
No, I'm talking about the
AK.
AK. It's garnered a bit of love simply because of the fact that it's got a mystique to it.
And then goes like this.
ARs are far more... again, you go back to the utilitarian thing. They just get the job done. And you can, depending on which model you get, you can shoot both 5.56 and... is it 223 or...
Yeah, 223 5.56.
So, anywho, there's that.
I keep screwing this up.
And like if I recall, the AK is actually a 20-inch barrel.
I got no clue on these 16. Kinds of stats.
So anyway, don't quote me on that because I'm probably wrong. We'll figure that out in the comments.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Anywho, that's an interesting debate that I don't know that I ever really... I looked into it enough, the research enough, that I just made a decision based on what I came across just finding it more comfortable to say the AR.
Okay, that's how this works.
Is going to be more comfortable for my wife to shoot as well as myself.
I did do it wrong.
This kind of stuff is mind blowing because I don't know that I would take this time.
Well, admittedly, I'm not. This makes me look very smart, and I have to acknowledge that I'm not. Because this is literally this. Basically, what I'm doing now is what I also do from the YouTube tutorials that I'm recommending. Because I watch what they do and go, okay, what does he do? Pause. And do it on my side. Okay, what does he do? And now I'm already doing that because I'm just referencing my own previous iterations. I am. No, I didn't.
So, those aside, then, was there like one you would just get simply?
I'm not sure I have a brand for the AR. Because I know that I would go Colt for a 1911 just because that's the.
Well,
classic,
you could go with the. I mean, Colt would still be in the family of because Colt ended up buying out Armalite.
I was not aware of that.
Yep. So you're still in the Colt family, my friend.
I could do that. Well, I mean, I'm not saying I would. I'm not attached to being like I would buy a specific AR from the AR company. I mean,
yeah, mine's a Radical Firearms, which they initially made suppressors, and most recently they've now made uppers and lowers, which is interesting. They've been supposedly pretty decent though, as far as getting the job done. There's one other company that I guess makes ones that are modular, like you put together kind of kit builds that are people swear by, but I don't know that I have enough research. Every time I look it up, I go back upstairs. I think I get it, and then I don't. What are you missing?
I don't know. I feel like I just broke the shovel.
I don't know. So anyway, but you mentioned the same kind of spending policy on guitars, and that was just awfully
spending policy. Well, yeah, just the idea that no, it's more the fact that people say, "Oh, you shouldn't make it judged off aesthetics." I'm like, as long as that's not your only judgment, I do think it's a perfectly valid thing to care about.
Well, yes. I mean,
hang on.
Arguably,
I need this little L shape
because it's still something you possess. So you
on both sides. Well, it's got to be something you're going to look at and be like, I'm glad I own this.
Yeah,
and looks are part of that.
You should do that again, closer to the camera.
I won't.
I'm glad I own this.
But L shapes on either side of this, and the little pyramid in the middle. That's what I think I probably screwed up the pyramid in the middle, which is why nothing else is lining up. Whereas, that's my thing is some people say you shouldn't base it off of looks at all, and I'm like, as long as you do the research to be like, hey, I like the way this looks and it's well made.
Right. I think form has to follow function, but I agree that form doesn't have to just...
the form following the function what? And what I am is a man in a mask. I've never been able to bust out one of those quotes. Let's talk about that later when you're done. That's a great movie.
Well, we can just segue now. That's great.
You said you were going to go with...
Yeah, I mean, I
think my problem is I had a gap in the middle, and I think it's supposed to be a block. Yeah, it was this pyramid shape. Yeah. Now I'm making some sense. Yes, the middle one, yes.
No, I was going to talk about within the guitar realm. Both of us have.
There we go.
We're musicians, and we have. I think we've actually established that.
So there we go. The little L shapes come here.
But we both play electric, and we have a bit of difference as far as variance. And
you want to get into that because that's so
niche.
Well, it's also. I'm not sure who's going to benefit from hearing our opinions. Because we're by no means experts.
Well, no, I'm not saying we're experts. I'm just saying that makes the case for single coil versus humbuckers
I'm not
and all this other stuff.
I already don't want to get into this because I just know it's going to be a knockdown drag out.
Why does that have to be the case?
Well, because you're just wrong.
No.
And I don't know. Is anyone else going to care?
Well, that's probably true. I was going to say within that context,
like
though,
boom. I think I figured it out.
We both are actually in the market, as it were, somewhat for acoustics when we get the chance.
Oh, I am not in the market
actively. I know.
Well, I mean, and I'm also not in the dream market. I'm talking like the one I mentioned is. I don't even know the name of it because as much as I love Ibanez, their naming policies are not great. It's just a serial code of numbers, so I don't know the actual number offhand.
It's the Ibanez.
But I happened to play it at a Guitar Center when I was looking, and it was like $200, and that's to me where it's like...
Was that the one you played the other day when I was there? Or?
Well, months ago now. It wasn't the other day at this point, but... It was an Ibanez something, and I was a little surprised because I wouldn't have thought. I mean, as much as I like Ibanez, I'm also aware that they're not well known for the acoustic market.
They make fantastic basses, I will say that.
Very fantastic basses, and I will defend their guitars. Seem to not get the respect they deserve.
I agree with that. I think for me, the bass is a no-brainer. But
yeah, the bass is actually a heavily defended. Like most people recognize that they earn that accolade. Yeah. Accolade, not acolyte. But yeah, I don't know. So that's where I go when I say I'm in the market. I'm talking like, what can I afford in the market? Not like, hey, I'm looking to buy my dream guitar.
Which, no disrespect to Ibanez, they actually have carved out a fairly good market as far as saying, well, we don't want to necessarily only capitalize on the upper end of the market. We want to also hit the people that
they're good all-rounders, if you ask me.
Right, exactly.
You can get an Ibanez that'll serve any function.
Well, and
unless you're the spankiest of spanky country players. Then you're going to just have to go with a Telecaster like everyone else.
He just looked at me.
Well, yes.
I don't know that
I'm in fact talking about you.
I don't know that I would consider myself a country player, though. I definitely have more of a blues
bluesy,
type
but
of
I suppose
feel.
That's a similar.
It's similar
sound.
Now. I think that historically not, but they came from the same camp. I don't disagree with you.
Both came from the South.
Yeah, agreed. But they took wildly different threads as far as how they ended up.
Came from the same initial musical
instruments. But see, blues was influenced heavily by like the whole African American kind of jazz movement, as early 20s kind of flappery thing, which was...
I'm not sure the flappers and the bluegrass or the blues were happening at the same...
No, I'm not saying they were happening at the same time. What I'm saying is blues took a lot of influence from that. So
the flappers weren't the ones making the music.
Well, of course, but I'm saying that era of music. Anyway, yeah, I tend to prefer single coil, spanky kind of stuff, and I know you don't. You like more throaty.
Well, I am. But see, that's what's interesting is that you'd think it would come down to musical taste, and it doesn't really, because we share most of our musical tastes.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, another hole I've just punched into some other part of my place.
I think also it's worth noting that I don't know that we even disagree with tone. It's just how we achieve the same tone. Well, because to me,
like I would say, the reason I like my Ibanez and most Ibanezes is that you can get... I'm sure there's some purists out there. Here's what I will say. Ibanez is heavily represented in metal music.
Well, yes, that is...
And that's not to say that that's their only genre that they cater to, but they do that well.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons I like it, is because I like metal. But then again, so do you.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I'm a metal person and you're a blues person, and that explains our differences.
Yeah.
You probably are more of a blues person than I am.
True.
And I might be more of a metal person than you are, maybe.
And that's fair, but I think both of us can appreciate the value of both. I think the difference is one definitely caters more to one side, although I would say it's not impossible to use like a Telecaster to shred.
I've not seen many people
exactly.
do that.
You don't see many people doing it in the same way that you don't see a lot of people using a Schecter to play, John Mayer. It's not going to happen.
If you actually see someone playing a Schecter, have pity.
But all that said, I think that we actually, especially in the acoustic realm, have a fairly similar taste in that it just should sound, organic and natural. It should sound full, but not super. Like there was here's the thing. As much as I like Fender, because I love Fender in the electric market, but I'm also not enough of a Fender fanboy to go, everything they make is great, and the Acoustasonic is terrible.
Oh, that one you played that day was just
and I knew it before I picked it. Yeah, I knew it before I picked it up, because they've never made good acoustics, but this was a new low. I'm sorry, Fender, but it was really bad.
4 or 5. I'm trying to keep track of how many of these
it was very tinny and just kind of, okay, what am I playing here? So, anywho, all that to say, V
for Vendetta.
Yeah. Let's jump.
Now, this is the reason I want to bring this up. This isn't just because, it is just because I quoted it, but we might as well talk about it because it is a controversy. Not a fresh one, but then again, what else is new? And by that I mean...
what else isn't new?
What else isn't new with us? But V for Vendetta, I hear, and it may well be true, that Alan Moore's works do not adapt to film. I've heard basically everyone who knows the stuff, the source material, say that. Alan Moore, of course, being the artist. No, the writer. It's not the artist.
Yeah.
The writer who wrote V for Vendetta back when it was a comic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's written several other comics. He wrote Watchmen. He wrote a bunch of famous things. And many people have said just about anything made, any movie made, and he also is quite vocal about his opinion, that any movie made from his works sucks.
See, I feel like, Watchmen objectively probably sucked, but if you've seen...
I've heard a lot of people say that Watchmen sucked the least.
Yes, I agree.
And I have not seen it, so I can't speak to that. I have, however, seen V for Vendetta, and I actually really like that movie.
Who didn't like that movie? Is that
basically,
a common
thing? Alan Moore, and B, Alan Moore's fans.
Well,
and I think one might influence the other.
Why didn't he like it, though?
Well, I can't speak to it, but he would probably defend it in a different way. Hang on, I gotta count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Is it a bit of like
6,
a Mary
7.
Poppins thing where he just didn't want to give it away?
I can't help but feel that way based on the things I've heard him say. And one of the things that I thought, this might not be his main criticism, but it's the only one I heard levied, which was that he thought it was dumb that an American company adapted his work and didn't set it in America, despite the fact that his work was set in Britain. Because the whole point of it is that it's meant to be a sort of satire of the political state, because of course, I mean, if you're familiar with the V for Vendetta concept at all, it's England as a future totalitarian dictatorship, basically. And he, for some reason, felt like it was cheap.
The river bend.
He felt like it was cheap that when an American studio, I think he was thinking in the spirit of it, because of course he's a British person.
Sure.
So he's thinking he made it about England because he's English. So he felt like an American studio should have made it about America, but I'm like...
So he's focused on
the source material is in England. You can't be mad that they set it in England
when it
was set in England.
They were trying to be true to the source material.
7, 8, 9... Okay, this has got screwed up.
I think what he was probably getting at was the idea that the commentary that he was trying to create within the comic was that within a totalitarian government, you're going to have a bad time. And then... in the American adaptation, the fact that you wouldn't apply that to yourself seems a little, or could come off, I suppose, as a bit, maybe not arrogant, but I don't know. I think it's a thin argument. I think it's a bizarre quibble to have. And also, I did watch a video of someone explaining where it's like, yes, as with all adaptations, a lot of stuff is cut out, which people don't like. That's a dumb argument.
It is kind of, because you go, certain things like the Lord of the Rings films are not they're pretty darn good in terms of adaptations.
And you love them even more,
but
arguably.
I actually think they are better because of the things they leave out. Like,
correct.
And here's the thing. Okay, we've lost half of our fans during the gun conversation. Here go the rest of them. Tom Bombadil, funny as he is, had no place in the books. In
the films... I understand.
I don't think he has a place in the books. You're going, this doesn't affect the plot. And I heard an argument which was basically the idea that Tom Bombadil was essentially Tolkien not exactly knowing what he was going to do. Because the first half of the Fellowship of the Ring really kind of feels like it meanders.
See, I would go a bit more meta.
And I feel like Tom Bombadil's part of that, where you're going, this doesn't have any... This doesn't have any effect. This was just him going, wouldn't this be a fun idea?
The meta-narrative in that is that people have argued that Tom Bombadil is Tolkien within his own books.
Yeah, but it still doesn't affect the plot.
Agreed. And I think that's fine. That's why I would say keep it in the books, because it's interesting enough to just kind of say, okay, that's fine. It's a bit of a tangent, but it's a tangent that's worth reading in itself. But...
I need 10 of these or 9 of these?
Completely concurred that it needed to be left out of the movie because there was a reason for it. It didn't, again, affect the plot at all. So,
yeah, and I go, so it's, as much as it's not like the most faithful adaptation, it's a pretty faithful adaptation, but the changes that were made were necessary.
Well, and people make the argument like, oh, Tom Bombadil was so key, how could you leave him? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you need to not. because that,
9, 10,
even okay. For a fan of Tolkien that's like, hey, I really appreciate his writing, even I don't subscribe to that.
So that's opinion. So yeah, I just go, if you're going to be mad that an adaptation isn't perfectly faithful, then why watch an adaptation?
Right.
Read the thing if you like it so much.
Yeah.
Don't go saying everything that's adapted from it has to be like it, because that's how they used to make movies back in the 60s, and most of them weren't good.
And BBC.
The 60s version of The Great Gatsby is a really boring film, but I assure you it is like page for page. And I sat through it. It was one of those things where we read it in English class and then watched it at the end of when we were done. And it was literally just like, this is the driest thing I have ever watched.
It's drier than saltine crackers.
Faithful as it may be, it certainly ain't interesting. So you got to let adaptations be different, because that's why it's an adaptation. It's not a translation.
Right, exactly.
Do I have 10 of these? Did I count right? So yeah, I think most... And this may also be part of it, is that I have never read the books, or the comics rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry. So some people are going to be like, oh, the only reason you don't like them is because you like it because you haven't read it, and you wouldn't like it if you did. And that, to me, is a sort of a no true Scotsman argument where you're going, this doesn't have any grounding. So. It's like, a good thing is a good thing whether or not I have the context for it.
Correct.
The context only adds goodness. It doesn't
adds
provide
depth.
all of it.
Yeah, correct. Agreed.
I think this is as long as
if you have to read the source material in order to get or to appreciate the movie, it's probably not that great a movie.
Well... I would... Yeah.
It's a strong argument, for sure, but I'm just
then
saying...
Again, I would say that's true of a great movie. There's still plenty that are good that still require that.
Yes, but I'm saying that's...
I think that's the mark of a great adaptation, is that you don't need to know the source material.
Well, great example. Assassin's Creed, the movie, was great for those that had played Assassin's Creed.
Not for those who haven't.
Exactly.
And so you'd call that a decent adaptation. Because it only really was good for people who knew.
Correct.
Whereas I would argue something like The Martian... ran out of the blue.
Was a fantastic movie.
Yes. Because in fact, 2 of my friends, one of whom had read it, one of whom had not, we all went to see it in theaters together, and we all enjoyed it equally as much. And then my friend who hadn't read it was like, dude, I have to read this because it's great. Yeah. And it's... So you're going, a great adaptation, you don't need this context.
Well, and that's what a movie should do, is pushing you back to the books. And that to me is a kind of a... schism of
time to get started here on
artistic mediums that is kind of a tragedy, because I go, the movies or the cinematic version of something should only highlight further the value of the book. It shouldn't be at odds with it.
Well, certainly not at odds, but I think that they can and should pursue different things because they are
for
different
sure.
mediums.
But again, I say, like, as you said so aptly, the idea of Lord of the Rings will wet people's whistle to a degree in that you don't have to worry about random characters like Tom Bombadil, but then
doesn't affect the plot,
right?
This
but
is
then
the
you go,
second floor.
If you happen to go, I really loved this, and I wanted to go back and read the thing, then you can go, okay, this is what happened with.
This is the 9th floor. Now, I thought the first floor was the bottom. The first floor is the top, so we're not...
And you jump to your doom. No.
Well, that's not a long enough jump to kill me.
That's not a long enough dump.
I've had some long dumps in my day.
Anyway.
I need this back.
So
yeah,
back to V for Vendetta, though.
The V for Vendetta specifically, I feel like the people who don't like it are fanboys. A little bit. Because they seem to be very vehement. And with that, and that's where I go. I can certainly understand if someone said, "Yeah, it's not great. You should read the comics; they're better." That's a cogent argument. I would say that of both. Well, I wouldn't say that of The Martian. I think The Martian film's a great film.
Right.
But I would also say the film's great, and you should still read the book. Same with Lord of the Rings. I would even say I like the Lord of the Rings more, but you should still read the book.
Right.
So, it's the fact that they're like, it sucks and it's awful and they should never have made it, and I'm like, this feels a tad excessive. And I understand some of it may be bad blood because from what I gather, many of Alan Moore's other film adaptations have been truly awful, such as, for example, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Have you seen that movie? I have, and it's weird.
in all the worst ways, or what?
Well, I'll actually admit, I saw it when I was fairly young. Don't ask me how. But, because it's not exactly... I mean, it's not inappropriate for kids, but I wouldn't call it kid-friendly either. I believe this is number 1, so I got to keep my counting correct. This will be number 2. It's definitely strange, because the idea of the comics is strange, and it really kind of only works in comic form, because the whole point of it is, it's a fictional way of piling together very famous book literature characters of, I'm not sure what era you'd call it, but like classical to Victorian people. So, for example, it's people in it. There's like Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. and Alan Quartermain from the King Solomon's Mines. It's several, and then like Dorian Gray, it was by Oscar Wilde. It's like these. It basically posits that these are real people,
right?
And so it's a world in which they all coexist and have bizarre things happen.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that even on a conceptual level, like this sounds like the only really comics could get away with this.
Right.
And maybe that's why. I still maintain it was not the worst film I've ever seen. It's definitely whack, and it's probably not great on an objective level. But then again, I may not be the best judge because to me, a bar for a film was it interesting to watch?
Yeah.
And I go, it's that at the very least.
Yeah.
Weird, certainly, but, so what?
Well, there are plenty of films that are strictly weird that, yeah, I don't know.
There's people who unironically like The Room. So I won't argue my film opinions with them.
Yeah, those are the people you just say, it's a lost cause, really.
It's a lost cause, yeah.
No point.
So I don't know. But then again, I've also heard that some of the other horror, like there's horror movies based on his stuff, which are apparently also terrible.
Yeah.
So that's where I go, maybe it's just Bad Blood, where it was like a string of really awful films that now they can't forgive.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Psych. If any of y'all have watched Psych before, there's an episode in which
the ninth floor is missing.
He's at a Comic-Con thing, and there was some adaptation of a movie adaptation of a comic, and it's like,
well, that's not even.
Is that big the nipple flick?
Well, that's a direct reference.
Those things look like big angry marshmallows.
Well, that's of course a direct reference to George Clooney as Batman.
No, it wasn't.
Absolutely, it is. That's one. I mean, it's not the main criticism because the film was terrible, but one of the major criticisms
was his giant nipples
of why, and even the film. I forget who it was, but like the guy who made that decision has since apologized profusely. Like, I don't know why we decided to put nipples on the bat suit. It was one of many faults. That was not like it wasn't like this is the film with the bad nipple Batman. But that's definitely, it was one of the criticisms.
I never knew that's what it was tied to. That's hilarious.
Well, I would be shocked if it wasn't a deliberate
at least a
reference.
dig at that, yeah. I need to now go back and watch Nipple Batman.
You don't. That film's terrible.
Really?
The George
Poor
Clooney.
George.
Well, dude, you realize that is the reason between 1980, whenever that came out, might be 1990, like one.
Well,
and 2008, there were no Batman movies.
That's because the 90s were terrible in a lot of ways.
No, there's good films that came out in the 90s. A lot of good films came out in the 90s. They were not. It depends on what kind of films. Like certainly, certain eras of film had passed by then.
Well, that's yeah.
But even I was about to give an example that probably wasn't a great one. I really enjoyed Judge Dredd. Came out in the 90s. Apparently, it did not review well.
Well, but that's actually not. It's not uncommon that. I feel like on an artistic level, this is also true with really any
arrows. I need those.
Artistic medium, like even with painting and stuff like that. That things become famous after they're no longer contemporary, if that makes sense. When it's contemporary, people like even Van Gogh were misunderstood.
Yeah, it's not a universal. There's certainly people who had fame in their day, but
yes,
it's probably not. It's more the exception than the rule.
Right.
What am I? I've lost my track because I was attacked.
Sorry. You were talking about the.
How does this come back to V for Vendetta? Were we done with V for Vendetta?
I don't know if we were or not. I'm trying.
It's a good film, and I will defend it because it may not be accurate to the source material. It is still nonetheless an enjoyable film, and it was the first film that I realized. Oh, you know what? Natalie Portman's not a bad actress. It's just that the prequels weren't necessarily written very well.
For her character, yes.
Her character specifically was not written very well.
That's true.
I will grant you that. As much as I am a defender of the prequels, I will also admit that the writing is where it fell down, and she did most of the falling. Or her writing. Because I don't want to blame her for not being able to act.
See, that was my argument.
Really terrible writing.
That was my argument with Orlando Bloom in
Ooh, I don't know that I agree with you there.
In Lord of the Rings.
Because he's been in better things that are better written, and he's still not very interesting.
Well, I'm not saying he's a great actor. What I'm saying is he did not have great option or even opportunity within Lord of the Rings, because it's
see, I still feel like the random crap he said still felt like random crap an elf would say.
Yeah, but then who would deliver that in any sort of more convincing manner.
Did it have to be any more convincing? The argument that I've heard that I think actually makes more sense than it should is the fact that he's probably like the youngest elf in all of Middle Earth at that point in time. So it's kind of like, well, you could just be like, he's just a dork kid almost.
That is probably true.
What? Nah, this is 8. That's 8.
Even Aragorn's looking at him like, dude, just stop.
And it goes to here. 9 is non-existent. 9, this is the 9th floor.
That is
10
true.
is right there. So there you go. We've got our thing working. Maybe. It took us this whole time just to do one of these. Last time...
Can you demonstrate?
Well, not really, because the thing still isn't... I thought we'd get through at least both of them, because there's only one floor left. Well, here's the thing. As long as this video doesn't corrupt, and I can actually post this, I can keep working on this. I had to stop because I got down to the last 2 floors, and we're like, if I finish this, we won't have anything to record. So I had to stop working on it for several months. So... even if we don't finish it on screen, I can at least finish it and satisfy my neuroses about it. I tend to get invested. The other thing I've got to do is get all the wiring set up for these blocks, which is complicated because you got to make sure that the redstone doesn't short out in between the lines.
How difficult is the redstone to acquire?
It's not that hard to acquire. I mean, once you get down as deep as I am, when you're down like to the, I think the lava level is 10. If you pull up your matrix of data, you'll notice here on the, I can't show it because my cursor's locked now, but you'll notice the XYZ coordinates that move around whenever I move. Mm-hmm. So we're on 15 right now, which is the Y. That's height. So down there I think is 10, which is where I think 10 is where. Let me check. I think it's around... No, 10 is the lava level. 10 is where you'll start running into lava. 5 is the bedrock. 5 is as high as bedrock goes, and this you cannot mine. This will not break.
Really?
So you can't really... I mean, you can...
There's literally no way to break through it?
No, this is... Well, because... Yeah. I mean, unless you're in creative, in which case you'll fall through the world. If you break... You can break it, bedrock in creative, but then you will literally fall out of the game world. Because after that is just nether space. So... 5 is the bedrock level. I think 10 is the lava level. And I think you find redstone starts becoming very common and like sub 30. So, you're not supposed to be in here. I just got this place built. I did get some arrows. At least use those on you. Hey! Boom, got him. Well, this one will be especially good for people to listen to as they go to bed. Because they'll probably have been asleep for all of this.
Oh, what? V for Vendetta?
V for Vendetta is an okay film? Oh, okay. I still think it is.
Yeah, well, and your argument even just within, like, Watchmen and stuff, I go, Watchmen even in itself was not a horrible film, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think of them. I know they even talked about it on Let's Drown Out once, which is the only reason I know as much about it as I do, because I've not seen...
Watchmen?
No, all of the Alan Moore adaptations, because
they're,
again, fanboys who think that V for Vendetta sucks.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that would be that. That's interesting.
I've heard, because like I know From Hell is a horror thing that apparently isn't good. There's also something else.
Yeah, but if you complain about horror not being good, you have to look at your broader category there.
Well, horror does seem to be the brand that can't quite get anything right.
I was about to say, you fall into that. You can't defend a lot when you're watching horror films as a general rule. And I'm not saying every horror film is terrible. What I'm saying is there's a lot more that horror films can get away with.
True. And
not be a bad movie that I'm like, this is horrible in any other context.
I'm not sure about that. I feel like certain things make a bad movie regardless of the genre.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes it's like, hey, as long as we've got a beautiful woman and we got some guy that's going to die in the movie, we'll be fine.
And if the beautiful woman dies in the movie, then you're double points.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like,
how does this work? Because actually, this is what makes this complicated, is that redstone, if you put redstone next to each other, they'll touch. So you have to use these to make them not touch, because otherwise you'll get shorts everywhere, and that's what makes it just really complicated. Whatever. I'm not sure we'll get through all of this, because we're coming up on our time. We took a little longer than we did. Have we discussed anything exciting at all?
Yes.
We didn't. See, the sad thing is, I had a whole big discussion monologue last time we recorded this, and I talked about some great stuff.
Well, what did you
It's too late now. I can't revive it now, especially now that we're at the end. I talked about, well, we'll give you the what? The Cliff Notes?
Yeah, come on, give us a Cliff Note.
Well, we talked about, because now it's not even modern, so it's not even going to be something I feel like I can talk about, because that's like, last time we talked about, I had just finished watching Gravity Falls for the first time, which I really enjoyed.
Which I still have yet to watch.
Yeah, but you should. But it's like, I don't feel like I can talk about that now, because it's been too long, and I don't feel like I have as fresh a memory of it. Gotta alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, like that. So you gotta do this checkered thing, otherwise they'll cause no-nos. No, I'm close enough. We'll finish this and then we'll call it a wrap. So, I don't know, you got something to close us off with that won't make more people angry? Oh, no.
Well, I don't know about that. Apparently I'm just wrought with that tonight. But not specifically. I don't know that Gravity Falls, again, I still have to watch Gravity Falls.
It's a great show. It led to such a great topic discussion last time. We had a good thing going.
I actually also recently came across, and we've talked about this a little bit, not in any depth, but the new season of Mandalorian, and I actually had but I mean the newest, the second season of Mandalorian.
Oh, we could talk. We could talk about this, but I feel like we want to give it more time because the Bad Batch just finished its first season.
Oh, is it done?
Yep, finally officially finished, and it's. Should we get? I don't know. We have the time to get into it fully because it deserves a proper discussion. You should also watch it because I can't talk about it much if you're not. This is your homework. Now now that you're done with your schoolwork, here's more schoolwork. You got to watch that because otherwise we can't discuss it.
Gravity Falls.
Apparently. I'd even be willing to go through Gravity Falls again now that it's been a while. It's fairly short. It's only 2 seasons, which this is one of the topics we got into is that, better short and sweet than long and drawn out.
Arduous, yep.
So I still maintain that that's better. So as much as it's short and that's kind of sad, I go, it was good and I'd rather it stay good in my memory than be soured by going on for too long.
Well, yeah. And people try to revive things because they refuse to... Hey!
That was like a full-on Matrix shot right in front of my face.
Because they refuse to let things go. And I go, if you can't...
TV go.
If there's a bit of a contentment, I suppose is the word for it.
Be content.
Where you say you need to be okay with the fact that the whatever adaptation was great, and then you move on.
What's funny is I think this lost video was the first time we discussed the whole things need to come to an end.
Well, and we can get into that maybe in a further.
Well, we've already gotten to that, and we discussed that previously. I think that was the one topic that survived.
Got lost.
No, we talked about it. We've talked about it in the Batman stuff now.
Oh, okay.
Talked about Disney and Apple and how companies should.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
Be willing to die on their hill rather than change their nature to become successful. Stuff's got to end because it happens. Because that's just life. Listen to Alan Watts.
Epigee. That's the word that I was looking for when we last had that conversation.
I don't remember that, but it's an interesting sounding word.
Which is the highest point of development, or like the climax of something. And I was looking for that word, and I recall actually saying, I'm looking for a particular word, and it's the height of something, but it's epigee. And it's like, this is like the moment that you should say, I'm done.
Well, you certainly shouldn't hold it beyond that.
Or you should continue striving for more, because... And I think we made this comment too, but if you stop and start coasting, you already lost your company, in my opinion, because you can't survive off of the trails of your previous years and your previous efforts. As much as people would like to coast, it's just not the way you run a business. Because if you're even on a retirement level, if you're at a point where you go, hey, I'd like to just let my business kind of make or work for me and me not have to do a lot, then put somebody else in charge of the company that's going to continue driving it ahead,
Well, I think we've beaten that dead horse plenty. So here's our final test. If I want to go to floor number 10,
here's our final
press
test.
That one. Should be all the way down there. The farthest one's on.
I want to move ahead, beat a horse.
Well, I feel like
beat a horse, save a cowboy.
Beat a horse, save a cow.
Cowboy, it's a song.
Oh, he said beat a horse. Well, because you laughed too much, you cut it off. So I click number 1. It goes down here. Number 10 was down there, which 5 should be in the middle. Boom. So that means I at least laid it out right. So the next step is going to be getting all of these contact points. They're going to have to go, since we're on the bottom, these are going to have to go up to the computer room, which is going to be in the middle.
All this is going to be complete gibberish to me until you can actually get into one of those little
I
mine
could
cars.
Show you. I'm not going to do it now. I could show you how it works, and I did do this in creative at first just to make sure I knew how it was going to work. But I'm not going to bother with that now because we're already over time. So if you're asleep, should we wake them up or just bid them good night?
We bid you adieu.
That was weak.